Hey, what's up, guys? G the Chemist here with my second part to the discussion on consciousness introduction. Um, the first video I didn't quite get through everything I wanted to get through, so I'm gonna do a little continuation in this part 2 video. Another thing I wanted to talk about was a lot of people who are interested in consciousness are obviously get into quantum mechanics and try to do some relations and see relationships between quantum mechanics and consciousness, and a lot of them say, well, the big thing is the collapsing of the wave function, and then they claim that, we observe whenever we observe a particle, we collapse its wave function. So therefore, consciousness itself is directly affecting or changing the outcome of an experiment, or forcing consciousness itself is forcing the particle to come out of its wave state to its particle defined state. And this is obviously incorrect, because one, the human scientist, the observer, is not actually directly observing the particle. It is the instrument. So in that case, you'd be calling the instrument conscious, when in fact it is not conscious. And two, it is not consciousness itself, but it is the act of the beaming photons on the wave-like state of the particle that is collapsing the wave function. And this, of course, happens in the absence and of a conscious observer, even before humans were around. So these claims are obviously incorrect and should not be taken seriously. But another thing that can be confusing with this, but is pretty interesting, is its implications with information theory. And so, obviously, there is a lot of randomness and entropy in the universe, and the opposite of that would be information and information structures. And so, consciousness, or conscious beings such as humans, are really great at compiling information into their informational structures. And well, I'll get more into the physics and information side to this in a physics video, but pertaining to consciousness, consciousness itself is not converting randomness to information. This happens spontaneously throughout the world by itself. Consciousness just does it at a much higher level, and as we see, because we can every day we create massive amounts of information, but even before we evolved, the universe accumulated information, but at a slower rate. So it is not consciousness that is creating information, and it is not consciousness that is affecting the world, as people claim, with collapsing the wave function. And so another thing to think about is how actually is the brain working, and how does the brain do computations that lead to consciousness? And the answer would be, well, the simple answer at least would be sodium-potassium differentials in your brain, which is and these pumps are obviously powered by ATP, obviously. And so this works by you have sodium ions inside the pump, and you have potassium ions outside. And so to create an electric potential, an electric charge to send down the nerve cell, neuron, you the the pump opens up its gates, and three sodium ions leave the gate, and 2 potassium ions enter the gate, and this creates a charge which ends up sending a nerve signal, a nerve impulse, action potential down the neuron. And obviously, with a lot of parallel processing, this leads to a lot of computation in the brain, and we can get deeper into this in a different video. But another thing that I'd like to talk about, since the gameplay is over, but I'm just going to continue with this part 2, is that consciousness does not mean like intelligence or skill. So something doesn't have to be, can't be, well, not can't, but something doesn't have to be conscious for it to be intelligent in some sort of way, such as a computer. Computers are great at chess, and they can easily beat us now. Computers are very good at mathematical computations and calculations, and that doesn't mean that they are conscious. So even though they are very intelligent with their, if inefficient with their mathematical computations and playing games like chess, they do not have a subjective experience. So intelligence does not mean consciousness or subjective experience. And so on that, going off of that, well, when does something become conscious? And the answer to that would be whenever something is aware of itself or experiences some sort of subjectivity or qualia. And we can get more into qualia and subjectivity and all that stuff in a different video. But basically, qualia is the it's your personal experience of your consciousness, and qualia cannot be like you cannot know someone else's qualia. Only the direct observer can be aware of their own qualia. And the stereotypical example would be like the color of a hat. Two people may agree that the color of the hat is red, but in reality, one person's red could be their black, and that person's red could be the other person's pink, but they agree on the sense that it is red. And so that's we can get more into qualia in a different video. But consciousness is not just limited to humans as well. And various animals are also, I'd say, are conscious, such as elephants and dolphins, and maybe even some dogs. Elephants can paint pictures, and they show a wide range of emotion, and they even seem to do rituals with burying their dead and stuff like that. So I find that very interesting. And so that's it for the introduction to consciousness discussions, at least. So that's my baseline videos for the introduction of consciousness, and I'll be doing more consciousness videos, but they'll be more focused on different subjects, and we'll go into more detail than just like an overview of the basics. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed it.